Hello everyone, welcome back. Once again, we're in the Bible and we're looking at John chapter 1 verses 6 through 9. For the past few videos we've been camping out in this passage, and hopefully we'll wrap things up today. Let me read it to you. God sent a man, John the Baptist, to tell about the light so that everyone might believe because of his testimony. John himself was not the light. He was simply a witness to tell about the light. The one who is the true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. In way of review, we've seen already in this passage that God sent a man named John to be a witness to point people to the light of the world, Jesus. And in knowing this, I asked the question, what kind of witness was John? And is there anything we can learn from his witness? If you look in the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and even John, there's a lot of things we can learn. Because of time, we're just going to look at two things. In the book of Mark, chapter 1, verses 7 through 8, and other passages in the New Testament, we see that John was humble. He was popular. There were a lot of people that liked what he had to say, and they were going out into the wilderness to hear his message and act on it. There were even a lot of religious leaders coming out from Jerusalem to see what he was all about, to ask questions. A lot of them thought maybe he was the Messiah, God's promised Savior. It could have been very easy for him to get a big head and make it all about himself. Yet he knew his place. He never made it about him. Whenever he had a chance to compare himself to the coming Messiah, Jesus, he always made it clear that the Messiah, the coming Messiah, was the greater of the two. The Messiah would bring about real change. How about you? Who is first place in your witness today? You know, it's very easy to make it about ourselves or about a pastor or maybe a church or Christian organization. However, today I encourage myself, if we're not doing this, it's very important that we make it all about Jesus, that our words and actions are pointing people to nobody else but Jesus, because He is the light of the world. He and He alone has the power to save and to change and give us peace, hope, and joy now and in the future. Acts 4, chapter 4, verse 12 says, "There is salvation in no one else. God has given no other name under heaven by which we must be saved." Another thing we can learn from John's witness can be found in Luke chapter 3, verses 9 and verses 17 through 18, and some other passages in the New Testament. Here John speaks about God's judgment. Today we often spend a lot of time talking about God's love, His grace, and forgiveness. Yet when it comes to God's judgment, we speak very little about it, or we try to avoid the issue altogether. Maybe we're worried that we'll offend someone, or they will walk out of our lives forever, or they won't be a part of our ministry or church, and it'll be very small and struggle. These are things we should not worry about. I would rather, in love, risk offending or pushing someone away in hopes that now or maybe later that they would see the truth, believe, and be saved, avoiding God's judgment forever. Yes, God is love, grace, and forgiveness. But John makes it clear in the passages that I just mentioned that if we don't deal with our sin issue, our sin problem with God, God's axe is at the root of the tree, and He's ready to cut it down and throw it away. If we love people, we will tell them in our witness about both God's love and His judgment. We must. Now, those are just some things we can learn about John's witness, and I hope we're doing it in our own witness. And if not, I do, again, encourage and challenge you and myself to do that. Now, let's finish the rest of this passage. We see that John is not the light, and the reason John says this about John the Baptist is that there were a lot of people that followed John. They were really into his teaching, but they never got the rest of the story. They never realized who he was pointing to. They never put their faith in Jesus. And many decades later, we see this in the book of Acts. A missionary named Paul runs into a group of people who were followers of John. They're zealous for God, but they don't know Jesus. And he has to tell them the rest of the story, and then they believe and get saved, and they're complete. And he wanted to make it clear, John is just a witness. He is not the light. He's not the one that's going to really save you and help you. It's the one he's pointing to, Jesus, the Messiah. It's important that we don't make other people the light. Maybe you're not a Christian today and you're making a politician or a celebrity or some sports figure your light. Maybe you're a Christian and you look into a pastor or a Bible teacher or some church as your light. There's a lot of good things that come from these people, but there's only one true light, and that's Jesus. He's the only one who has the power to forgive you, to reconcile you to God, to give you peace, joy, and hope now and forever. So look to Jesus, the true light of the world. Next time, this kind of ministry requires a response. We're going to look at two different responses that people give. I hope you'll join me. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.